Coming up, late model and sprint car champions crowned, a nearly 200 race winless streak broken, NASCAR drivers running midgets, and why I'm not ready to declare the All-Stars quote back just yet. Let's go. It's Sunday, November 17th. I'm Justin Fiedler. This is DIRTRACKR Daily presented by Kubota Genuine Parts. We'll start today off with race results from the last few days and then move into some news items. There's a lot that's happened, so it may push a few things to tomorrow and later this week just so we can kind of cover everything properly. At Sonoya for the FloRacing Night in America finale, Ricky Thornton Jr. entered with a 27-point deficit to Bobby Pierce for the championship, and honestly, I didn't think this was likely even in play. Pierce has been so strong all season, 2 solid nights, and he would just clinch this thing. RTJ won Friday night on a tough and technical racetrack that saw just 11 of 26 starters finish the race. Pierce, though, went 5th to 2nd, entered Saturday with still a 21-point lead. If he finished 6th or better, this thing was over even if RTJ won the race. But yesterday turned into a mess for the 32 team, and they needed a provisional to start the feature after struggling early in the night and eventually swapping to a backup car. While Thornton was leading all 75 laps to sweep the weekend, Pierce went 25th to 11th and missed out on the title. So 2 championships this year for RTJ with Lucas and the Flow Series and a nice $125,000 weekend. He got $50K for the 2 feature wins, plus $75,000 for the championship. That was an interesting note as well. Thornton raced for 4 different teams en route to the Flow title. He obviously started with SSI the season and finished with Kohler, but in between also raced a night with the Shepherds and also a few races with Kevin Rumley. So it took a little bit of effort here to get this thing done. With Sonoya finished, a bunch of teams will super truck to Cherokee today for the 20,000 win Blue-Gray 100. Should be a nice day here in the Carolinas for some racing. At BAPS last night for the final 410 wing sprint car race of 2024, we saw something we hadn't witnessed since July of 2022. And that was a Brock Zearfoss win. With his outlaw season complete, Zearfoss showed up to BAPS and led all 30 laps from the pole. His last win of any kind came with the Outlaws at Cedar Lake on July 2nd, 2022. It was a stretch of 197 races between victories. Chase Dietz and Logan Schuchart completed the day's podium. With the ASCS between Tulsa and Creek County, we had 3 different winners. Seth Bergman won Thursday at Tulsa, and Blake Hahn and Sam Haverteep split the Creek County wins. Thursday victory for Bergman, and 2 more top 5 saw him easily clinch the 2024 ASCS National Tour Championship over Haverteep and Matt Covington. This was Bergman's first series title. In 360 action at Vado Speedway Park, Aaron Reitzel was the Friday winner in POWRi sanction action. We had last lap drama on Saturday night, though. Caleb Montgomery looked to be on his way to the win, but down the backstretch on the white flag lap, his right rear tire gave out, and Caleb Size was able to drive by for the $10,000 win. Looked like tires were a problem, and we may have had a few more failures had that race gone maybe just one more lap or 2. And down under at Adelaide, Kerry Madsen won the sprint car finale on the temporary Napa Speedway track built on a cricket field during the Adelaide 500. Michael Stewart won the $25,000 2-night championship there. All right, let's dive into some news. Going back a few days, Kyle Larson's upcoming midget schedule has been announced. We talked about this last week, but we didn't know exactly where he'd be showing up. He will run a Paul Silva-owned midget alongside Tyler Courtney. They're going to be teammates. Larson will run Merced on November 23rd, Bakersfield on the 26th, and Turkey Night November 30th. From there, we know he's going to Australia for the high-limit sprint car races at Perth. Still no clarity on the Chili Bowl, though. One driver we do know that will be at Chili Bowl is Kyle Busch. The NASCAR star has run dirt late models and spent a bunch of time here lately in micro sprints. Now he's expanding to midgets. Busch will make his USAC midget debut at Bakersfield, and then he'll run Turkey Night as well to get himself ready for Tulsa in January. He recently tested at Rockfish Speedway in North Carolina to get his feet wet. His effort being backed by Lucas Oil and FloRacing, and he's driving a Link chassis with TRD power. For the USAC midgets, the Hangtown 100 at Placerville this weekend was rained out. Their West Coast swing is now just 5 races. It's going to start Wednesday at Tulare. In sprint car news, this has been going on for a while behind the scenes. The return of the All-Star Circuit of Champions name became official yesterday. Starting in 2025, Ohio promoter Rich Farmer, he runs Fremont. He's partnering up with High Limit, Brad Sweet, and Kyle Larson to get a regional series going again, and it will be called the All-Star Circuit of Champions. The series is going to be streamed on FloRacing, and they said it will include Ohio Sprint Speed Week. For now, that's really all the details we have, as the schedule isn't expected until sometime in December, and purses, point fund, and a potential driver roster, all of that's still up in the air. The All-Stars had been the oldest sprint car series in the country, with it being founded in 1970, but it went away after 2023 when Flo and Brad and Kyle acquired it from Tony Stewart to help pave the way for the much larger national version of High Limit. Tony took control of it in 2015 at a pivotal time where things were starting to splinter heavily in the regional space, and he and his team really brought stability. The acquisition of the All-Stars by High Limit, though, was much more about tidying up the streaming deal and gaining the relationships with some of the tracks and events than it was necessarily about getting the existing infrastructure of the All-Stars. Outside of some vehicles and equipment, there really wasn't much to gain out of the purchase, especially since High Limit wasn't going to be using the All-Star branding. The loss of the All-Stars as a middle ground between more local and regional racing and then going all out with something like the World of Outlaws created a void in the sprint car landscape, and several series and groups attempted to fill it for 2024 and then beyond. In Ohio specifically, the Fast Series with Aaron Fry expanded a bit for this past season, and Fry ran a bit more of a unified speed week, and that came with the blessing of High Limit and Flow and the involvement of Dirt Vision. Early on, though, Rich Farmer and Ross Paulson did attempt to start a regional Ohio-based sprint car series, but the deal fell apart in the final moments, literally final moments, before an announcement was expected. The Maverick Wing Sprint Series, which now appears to be dead, popped up in the space as well, and we are seeing Kenny Brown and PowerEye attempt to expand their footprint with the PowerEye Honest Abe 410 series. The announcement yesterday seemed to draw quite a bit of attention and goodwill, but from where I sit, until we have significantly more details, I'm still hesitant to really say the All-Stars are back. Is this new iteration of the series really going to fill that void and be what the All-Stars were before, or is this going to be just a High Limit and Flow-backed version of something like Fast in Ohio, just with different branding? Because based on what we know, especially from the Fast side, Farmer and High Limit wanted Fry to end Fast. They wanted it to go away and join up with them, which was revealed in a social post from yesterday after the announcement. And it would obviously be much easier to control Ohio Sprint Speed Week and potentially game tracks and series and drivers if Fry and Fast were no more. But Fry declined, and Fast will move forward as is, with 20 races already scheduled and more to come, as they say. And regardless of what the release said yesterday, it sounds like the fate of Ohio Sprint Speed Week might not be settled just yet. So as we pull back a bit, there are a lot of questions to still answer here. What really happens with Speed Week? Can Farmer put together a strong enough schedule and package to really draw race teams? And will everybody actually play nice there? Because I do think sprint car racing needs that middle ground between local action and the national tours. I am all for that. I am here for it if that's what they can put together, and that's what they're doing here. But if this will just be further splintering in and around Ohio, if that's the case, I don't know that we really need a second or sort of third Ohio series siphoning off a few tracks and cars and really diluting everything. I'm not really sure what we gain from that, if that's really additive here. Looking ahead to tomorrow, there are a number of late model news bits to talk about. So for those of you looking for that stuff, stop by on Monday. We'll talk about a few things that became public in recent days, and maybe some things you don't know just yet. I hope you guys have a great Sunday out there. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.